On the evening of the 3rd of March 2021, 33-year-old Sarah Everard was kidnapped in South London, England, as she was walking home from a friend's house. She was stopped by off-duty Metropolitan Police Constable Wayne Cousins, who identified himself as a police officer. He then handcuffed her and placed her in his car before driving her to near Dover, where he raped and strangled her, before burning her body and disposing of her remains in a nearby pond. But it was only during his sentencing that the full details of his crimes emerged. Cousins' choice of victim was random, but the attack was planned. Lord Justice Fulford said there had been significant planning and premeditation by Cousins. The police officer had long planned to carry out a violent sexual assault on a yet-to-be-selected victim who he intended to coerce into his custody, noted the judge. Cousins spent at least a month travelling to London from Deal, Kent, where he lived, to research how best to carry out his crimes. Several days before the attack, he booked a hire car, which he would use for the abduction. After finishing a 12-hour shift at the U.S. Embassy that morning, Cousins, a parliamentary and diplomatic protection officer, went out hunting for a lone, young woman to kidnap and rape, the prosecution said. As Sarah walked along South Circular Road across the Common en route to her Brixton Hill home, she spoke to her boyfriend on the phone for about 15 minutes and agreed to meet him the next day. She was seen on doorbell camera footage on Poinders Road and 4 minutes later on the dashcam of a passing police car. At 21:34, Cousins, who had parked the Vauxhall on the pavement outside Poinders Court, stopped Everard and showed her his police warrant card before handcuffing her. The court heard how Cousins used the knowledge he had gained from working on COVID patrols in January and his Metropolitan Police issue warrant card to trick his victim under the guise of a fake arrest for breaching coronavirus guidelines. The abduction was witnessed by a couple traveling past in a car, but they believed they had seen an undercover police officer carrying out a legitimate arrest, so did not intervene. The whole kidnapping took less than 5 minutes. Cousins and Everard were twice captured by bus CCTV. The first instance at 21:35 showed them beside the hired Vauxhall, and the second, at 21:38, showed the Vauxhall's number plate. Cousins then drove to Dover in Kent, where he transferred Ms. Everard to his own car, before travelling to a remote rural area nearby. It was there that he raped and murdered his victim, strangling her with his police belt. By 2:31, Cousins had left the scene and was spotted at a service station buying drinks. He visited the site where Ms. Everard's body was dumped twice, leaving just before dawn. After Cousins returned the hire car, he drove his personal car to Sandwich, Kent, disposing of Everard's mobile phone in one of the town's watercourses. Later that day, Everard's boyfriend contacted the police after Everard did not meet him. On the 5th of March, shortly after 11 o'clock, Cousins bought and filled a petrol container at a service station. He then drove to Hodeswood, where his car was captured on CCTV, and burned Everard's body inside a refrigerator. He bought 2 large builder's bags from B&Q before returning to Hodeswood on the 7th of March, where he used one of the bags to dispose of Everard's remains in a pond. On the 8th of March, he reported himself ill from work, handing in his equipment including his police belt and handcuffs. On the 10th of March, police searching Hodeswood found human remains in a large builder's bag, approximately 100 meters from a plot of land that Cousins owned. Police in Dover also searched the site of a former body repair garage, previously owned by Cousins's family. On the 12th of March, a week after she disappeared, Ms. Everard's body was found in a woodland stream, just meters from land owned by Cousins. Everard's body was identified through dental records. Police focused a search operation around the rope walk in Sandwich, and cordoned off approximately 1 square mile of the town. Police continued to comb woodland in Kent, and police divers in Sandwich searched underwater for Everard's mobile phone. Meanwhile, Cousins returned to normal life, carrying out mundane activities like calling a vet about his dog. Days later, he even took his wife and 2 children on a family trip to the woods where he had burnt his victim's body. In a brief police interview, he told a false story about being threatened by an Eastern European gang, claiming they had demanded he deliver another girl after he had underpaid a prostitute a few weeks before.
here to talk to you about Sarah. I'm going to show you a picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
So, would you like to, do you know where Sarah is?
No.
Right. Okay. Have you ever personally met her?
No, not personally, no.
Have you had any interactions with her at all?
Why would I have personal interactions with her?
Have a good think about it and tell us anything you can about whether another time.
Okay, well, I am in financial shit, and I've been lent on by, I don't know who they are. They're a group, a gang, whatever, and they told me, right, I need to go and pick up girls and give them to them. It then came through that they're going to harm my family, take them away, and they'll use them instead. At that point I had no option to try and find somebody. So I don't, there's a couple of names. I was told a place to take her. They was between sort of Lenham, Maidstone area that I dropped her off.
He then claimed he kidnapped Ms. Everard, drove out of London and handed her over to 3 men in a van in a Laby in Kent, while she was alive and uninjured. But after Ms. Everard's body was discovered in a pond just 130 metres from land owned by Cousins, he was charged.
Detectives and search teams investigating Sarah's disappearance have found, very sadly, what appears to be human remains. The discovery was made in an area of woodland in Ashford in Kent. As you can imagine, at this early stage we are not able to confirm any identity, and indeed that may take us some considerable time. Specialist officers have been with Sarah's family to update them on the investigation and to continue to give them the best support we possibly can.
The results of a post-mortem were released on the 1st of June. The investigation concluded that she had died from compression of the neck. Cousins has since been sacked by the Met, but the force is still facing questions over whether chances were missed to prevent his predatory behaviour. On the 8th of June 2021, Cousins pleaded guilty to kidnap and rape, and admitted responsibility for Everard's death. Pending medical reports into his mental health at the time of Everard's death, Cousins did not enter a plea on the charge of murder.
Cousins, who pleaded guilty to kidnap and rape of Sarah Everard, and later he pleaded guilty to her murder. On the 30th of September 2021, he was sentenced to imprisonment for life for the murder with a whole life order. No separate penalty was imposed for the offences of kidnapping and rape. Cousins seeks leave to appeal against sentence. In his case, we grant leave to appeal against sentence but dismiss the appeal. Although the circumstances of his case do not fall within the terms of the statutory provision which provides that a whole life order should be the normal starting point, the individual facts are such that the judge was entitled, exceptionally, to impose a whole life order.
Speaking outside the Old Bailey, Cressida Dick, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, said she felt sickened, angered and devastated by Cousins' crimes. The Independent Office for Police Conduct is also investigating alleged failures by Kent Police to investigate a flashing incident linked to Cousins in 2015. Cousins transferred to the Met in 2018, from the Civil Nuclear Constabulary, where he had worked since 2011. 2 years later he began working for the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command as an authorised firearms officer at diplomatic premises around central London. He appeared in court for a 2-day sentencing hearing. There, he faced Ms. Everard's mother, father, and sister, who described to the court the torment of losing their loved one in such horrendous circumstances. Her father, Jeremy, demanded that Cousins looked at him as he told the murderer he could never forgive him for taking away his daughter. Her mother, Susan, said she was tormented at the thought of what her precious little girl had endured. I go through the sequence of events. I wonder when she realized she was in mortal danger, she told the court. Burning her body was the final insult. It meant we could never again see her sweet face and never say goodbye. Our lives will never be the same. We should be a family of 5, but now we are 4. Her death leaves a yawning chasm in our lives that cannot be filled. Cousins, 50, is currently serving a whole life sentence for the rape and murder of Sarah Everard.